Hi, so here we are. We are at one of the academies at Oasis Community Learning. This is Oasis Bolton. We're here to talk about apprenticeships and why apprenticeships matter. So, let's go.
I'm Shilpa Rator and I'm the principal here at Oasis Academy Bolton, and we're part of the Oasis Community Learning Trust, and we do form part of 8 academies in the Midlands region too. For our apprentices, we offer a really good personalised CPD package and professional development. We look at the skills that aren't so strong or skills that they want to develop further, and we put in bespoke CPD for that. We allocate time as well for those apprentices to have time to sit back, reflect, think about what they're doing, where they're going, and how they're going to really get to that point and that outcome. Currently we have 3, but we do have apprentices every year, upskill them, and if we can, we offer them the job and then replace with more apprentices.
My name's Milana and I'm doing a level 3 an apprentice, and I'm based in year 3. I chose this apprenticeship programme because I learn better hands-on and through experiences. The main benefits of my apprenticeship is that you learn through experiences and you get paid whilst you're learning. The advice I'd give is to go in, be open-minded, be yourself, and go and gain a qualification.
So my name is Aisha and I'm a teaching assistant in year 2. I chose this teaching assistant apprenticeship because I really loved working with children and I wanted to develop on my professional skills. There's weekly CPD sessions for us so that we could develop professionally. The staff are always there for us as well if we need any support with our apprenticeship. My tutor has been really good as well. Like, she supports me with my assignments, and she's like, if you need any support with anything like regarding the school or on the course, and she's always there for me.
We use apprentices to recruit talent by looking at where our gaps are within the academy and then deciding what role we are actually looking for. We will then contact LMP Education, and I will speak with one of the consultants, and we'll have that initial discussion. And within a week or 2, we have got a great bank of candidates, and from there, that LMP Education organises the times and the slots for their interviews. They come along, we give them a tour of the academy, and then from there, we start that recruitment process. And so it's very swift and it's very efficient. I would definitely recommend LMP Education because 1, it's efficient, 2, communication is absolutely superb, and 3, that support network is there all the time. So I think it's a very supportive facilitator of apprenticeships.
Brilliant. Hello, everybody, and a massive welcome to our session this afternoon. Hopefully everybody can see the screen and not the video now. If you can't, just let me know. Just before we get started, there's a quick poll on your screen. Please do answer those questions if you can. And just wanted to kind of start off with a massive warm welcome to this session, which is on making the best use of apprenticeships within schools. So this is a LMP event, which is being delivered in partnership with Oasis Community Learning, ARC Schools and Inspire ATA as well. These are some of our fantastic partners who have all actually agreed to share their apprenticeship journeys with you today. It's also so great to see so many people that have signed up for this session as part of National Apprenticeship Week. We actually had just over 200 different organisations that have joined us as well, hence why we just want to put a quick poll out there just so we can gauge the background and also the thoughts and the feelings of the audience just for when we get to our Q&A at the end. So just to start with a little bit of housekeeping, and I will be closing that poll in about a minute's time. This session is being recorded, so it will also be sent out afterwards with the slides as well. And we do have a Q&A function. So on your screen, if you do have any questions for myself or for the rest of the guest speakers, please do put those questions in that Q&A function. We've also got a panel, so my team are also working very hard in the background. They're going to try and answer those questions for you directly throughout the session. If not, they're going to hold some of those back so we can ask the guest speakers some of those questions at the end. My job really today is to give you a bit of an insight into how you can make the best use of apprenticeships within schools and multi-academy trusts. I'm also going to be making lots of notes so I can ask our guest speakers the questions that you want as well when it comes to apprenticeships. So just a 30 seconds more there on the poll. I'm going to be ending that in 30 seconds time, and then we will kick off with our session. Brilliant. So as I'm just ending the poll, I'm just going to introduce some of our guest speakers. So I'm really pleased to say we are being joined today by Laura Bullen. Laura is the National Lead of Operational Learning and Development at Oasis Community Learning. I'm also joined by Sarah Tallak. Sarah is the Head of Apprenticeships at ARC Schools. And I'm also joined by Andrew Wilding, who is the Sales Manager from Inspire ATA. So lots and lots of good insights are going to be shared. Just going to end that poll now, and then we're going to kick off, and I'll be sharing those results towards the end of the session as well. So really just to kind of start off by introducing myself as well. So my name is Jamie McVey. I am the sales director here at L&P Group, and I've been here for 11 years. And just to give a bit of a context in terms of why we are running these sessions, in terms of who we are, what we do, and also how we do it as well. So in terms of us, we are L&P Group. We are made up of 3 separate companies with a collective mission to inspire ambition. In terms of those 3 companies, we have Let Me Play Limited, that trades as L&P Education, Inspire ATA, who you're going to hear from later, and also L&P Action as well. And these are our various brands that hopefully you might have seen some of these online as we promoted this session here today as well. Our purpose is really there to create inspirational journeys and deliver excellence in learning. And all 3 of our companies are aligned by our 4 core values, which you can see on the screen just there. In terms of our main service areas, so a lot of the things we do engage with schools, mainly with apprenticeships and commercial training. So in terms of apprenticeships, we are an award-winning apprenticeship training agency, and we do specialise in working with schools to either upskill their existing staff, or we actually recruit staff in with our free recruitment service. We work with some of the leading multi-academy trusts. Some of those are here today, which is great. And schools that train their staff using the apprenticeship levy means it's fully funded. We'll see huge benefits in staff retention, which is one of the main points we're going to touch upon later as well. We do also have a free direct recruitment service for schools. We then have Inspire ATA, again, another award-winning employment agencies for apprentices. And within Inspire, they specialise in providing schools with support staff and flexible durations, which Andrew is going to talk you through a little bit later. Effectively, Inspire ATA employs the apprentice, and then you as a school or a MAT would actually host them out in there as well. We also have adult education budget funded programs. These are actually short courses for adults that are either employed or unemployed that are fully funded for those that are age 19 plus. And we also deliver alternative education provision, where we actually provide schools with a bespoke alternative provision package that suits to those learning needs. And we do this through restorative practices right through to vocational qualifications on or off-site in England and Wales. So that's a bit about who we are, okay? Hopefully that kind of gives you a bit of a background in terms of us in this space as well. But really today is all about how we can best make the best use of apprenticeships within schools and MATs as well. And before we actually move on and share our partners' insights, I just want to give a little bit of a background in terms of how apprenticeship funding works and how that really, from what we see with our clients, how that is there to support your people strategy as well. So how does apprenticeship funding work? Just a real brief overview of this. So the apprenticeship levy came into play in 2017, and this requires all employers operating in the UK with a pay bill of over £3 million or more to make that investment in apprenticeships. That investment is 0.5% of anything over £3 million, and the government then tops that up by 10% every month for you to use. You have 24 months in which to spend that levy pot. So if you put money in today, in February 2024, in February 2026, if you do not spend that on training, then those funds will actually expire, and all organisations that pay into the levy will be able to access their contribution via their digital apprenticeship service account. Okay, and that account can be used to pay for apprenticeship training and assessment in England. And if you're sitting there now thinking, actually, I'm not even a levy payer, well, when that levy pot runs out, or if you don't actually pay into the levy, then you move to a thing called the co-investment model. And that's where you actually fund 5% of the training and the government pays the other 95%. And in terms of the funding, all of the standards that are available, it fall into one of 15 negotiated funding bands. So that's just a whiz tour on how the funding works. We're going to see how that actually impacts schools now. And we're going to hear from some of our partners on this as well. But effectively, most MATs have a levy pot that is either underutilised or not utilised. This also goes for local authority schools as well, as they do contribute into the overall local authority levy pot. So some schools aren't aware of that. And actually, a lot of schools do purchase apprenticeship training through systems like Crown Commercial or YPO, to name a couple. So schools are actually able to buy from providers through these frameworks as well. But actually, most schools are matched, just use providers directly on that as well. And we are really here at LNP, we're on a bit of a mission to stop schools having this money going back to Treasury, because we want to make you guys aware that it's actually there for you to use in your staff as well. And so why do we think that all schools should be utilising apprenticeships? I put out a blog at the start of the year about some of our key findings that we have from our clients. One of the main ones is staff retention within schools. It's a huge piece of work. So how do we keep staff motivated and how do we keep them within our organisations? I hear it all the time about teaching assistants in particular leaving and going to work in Tesco's because it pays more. Okay, it's not all about pay, but we believe apprenticeship programs are a fantastic way to retain your staff. How do we set up effective career pathway programs which actually focus on all staff? So sometimes support staff might feel like they've been left out or forgotten about, but actually by putting in bespoke programs for them, you can actually tailor it to the needs of your trust as well, or school. And then supporting the ever-growing amount of SEND pupils in mainstream. We're seeing this more and more often now, where schools come to us and say, we need more support staff. We can't actually find them right now, or we can't find SEND qualified staff to come in. So this is where we believe that adding in these SEND modules into apprenticeship training, but also recruiting support staff via the apprenticeship route is an excellent way to benefit and attract talent. And you can do that through two models, which you're going to hear about today as well. And really, before I hand over to our first guest speaker, there's a wide range of programs out there that can also be tailored to school roles. And hopefully from today, you're going to understand what some of those programs look like. But that's enough from me for now. Like I said at the very start, if you do have any questions, please put them into the Q&A function. We're going to get back to you throughout the webinar, but hopefully at the end, we'll come and answer those questions as well. But I'm really pleased to now move on to our first guest speaker of the session. So our first guest speaker comes from Oasis Community Learning. We started working with OCL back in 2018. And at that time, Oasis had 13 apprentices across all of their sites. Over the duration of our partnership, LNP have actually trained over 501 apprentices across their 54 academies. 326 of those have been recruited into the trust. And this stat was amazing when I put this together, actually. 67% of those recruited in as apprentices move into full-time roles across the trust once they complete their apprenticeship program. And currently we've got 118 live learners across Oasis. So I'm really, really pleased to announce and introduce you to Laura Bullen. So Laura is the National Lead of Operational Learning and Development at Oasis. So over to you, please, Laura.
Thanks so much, Jamie, for the introduction. And I'm hoping there's some of my text on that slide or on the slides to follow. If not, I will talk to some of the content that I'd prepared. Here we go. Yeah, lovely. Thanks, Jamie. So look, great to be here. I'm Laura. As Jamie said, I've got that great big long job title, but really my role is to support. I'm a bit of a partner to support operational colleagues, which is in our academies. That's our site teams, our ops teams, our admin teams, and I also support all of our national directorates, so finance, IT, HR, and so on. And then alongside that, duty, I also then am responsible for apprenticeships at Oasis, and I joined in January last year. So I'm coming just to the end of my first year with Oasis. So lots that I've understood and kind of lots of activity going on here. So our colleagues have studied kind of 31 different apprenticeships over the years. And our most popular apprenticeships are our teaching assistant level 3, also early years educator, business admin and IT technician. So we have been quite heavy around that level 3, a little bit into level 4, but that has been the majority to date. It is something we're looking at to introduce more breadth and some higher level apprenticeships. We work with a small portfolio of apprenticeship providers, and LMP are our lead provider. So they deliver all of those that you can see above. We've also been inspired. So over the years, if we've got more experience in apprenticeships, we've recently set up our own employer-led provision, Oasis Community Apprenticeships, offering the teaching assistant level 3. So that's kind of a new development, which is very new, very small, but something that we've been inspired to do through our work with LMP and through understanding apprenticeships in more detail. So what apprenticeships mean to us? So apprenticeships are part of our people strategy here, and I think that's really important because apprenticeships are a great vehicle and a method of learning, but you have to really think about why you want to use them. And because yes, it's great that the levy is there to be utilised, but as with anything, nothing is ever completely free, if that makes sense. So there's always a cost of time and things to think about. So you do need to think about using it effectively still. And our people statement of intent is what we define as our people strategy. This is for us about working towards development and career pathways for every single member of staff at Oasis. And our apprenticeships help us to do that because they are kind of ready-made programs that are quality assured, underpinned by standards that have been defined by the industry. They're things that we can say with certainty add value. They help us to access new talent pools and to meet recruitment challenges. So we might advertise for a teaching assistant role and get a certain number of candidates, or a limited number. And if we advertise that role as an apprenticeship, we open the door to new people that might not have applied for just the role on its own. So that really helps us, and all of our roles are on the government apprenticeship website, so people looking for apprenticeships, they can search, they can find us, and that helps us to kind of reach new people. And then they also help us develop capable colleagues. So we really do see a difference in our apprenticeships. Lots of them, when they come to apply for jobs, they outshine other candidates, and they help us deliver exceptional education in the classroom, which is what we're here to do at Oasis. So they're really integral to our strategy. Promoting apprenticeships here. So I've just done, this is like a very basic screenshot, but this is just a really like small snapshot of our learning and development portal. So we try and promote and explain what apprenticeships are and what's on offer through that method. We also, myself and other members of the team, we talk to our leaders. So for me, that's primarily our service leaders, but for my counterpart on teacher development, that would be our educational leaders, and just make sure that we're in conversation, sharing updates and progress in terms of what apprenticeships are available, and how our current apprentices are doing. So I think it's really important to make that part of those conversations. LMP really help us with visibility because they're on the ground. So Lauren Johnson is on the call, who works really closely with us. She does a great job. She gets out and about in our academies, and with us only having a small learning and development team, it really helps us to meet more of our academies and for them to get more hands-on support, because we don't have the internal resource to do that. So LMP have really helped us with that. The other thing to mention, sorry, no, we're moving slides, apologies. So I'm trying to guess what's next. So that's great. On to back to Shilpa's slide. So managing apprenticeships at Oasis. So how do we do this? We have regular meetings with our providers. So part of my role, I think, is to hold our external providers to account. So I meet with LMP, I meet with our other specialist providers, and that's usually kind of once every couple of months, and we look at apprenticeship numbers, locations, progress, challenges. We really keep in good contact, and we get a regular feed of data from LMP as well, so that we kind of know how we're doing and where we're doing well and where we need to put more support. Get out on visits. So I've been fortunate enough to visit some of our apprentices in that Grimsby area, and I've been at an event today in North Manchester in Oldham. So I think it's really good to the more you can kind of be in contact and be in touch with the mentors and the apprentices themselves, the more you can understand how those apprenticeships are really landing and what value they're really adding. And then I think what we do, so we try and understand best practice here. So what I've learned from joining is that we've got some academies here that really do lead the way on this for us. Oasis Academy Clarksfield in Oldham, where I am at the moment, they have got an achievement rate of 75%, which is excellent. And they've also got many distinctions of their apprentices over the last few years. So I've kind of been here today to understand what is it that they're doing well and how can we share that with other schools. I think a big part of what works when apprenticeship works is that they've got great mentors and great support, and that is something that makes a big difference. And we continually review the offer. So I think the offer we've got at the moment is primarily level 3. We're introducing more higher level apprenticeships for existing staff. We're broadening the offer as well. So we've just launched some IT apprenticeships today, which go from level 3 to level 6 for internal colleagues, and just making sure people are aware of them, because often lots of people still don't know. And if you're in a big trust, to get the word out is not always easy. So that visibility is really key. And that's everything from me. I think, yeah, Jamie's back on. So thank you for listening, and I might see you back at the Q&A.
Excellent. Thank you so much. And some fantastic insights there. And yeah, if you've got any questions at all, please do put in that Q&A function, and we will get back to you on the Q&A part at the very end. So before I hand over to our next guest speaker, what I want to do is just kind of talk about some apprenticeships that work well in schools. I know Laura mentioned there about some IT apprenticeships, and also the teaching assistant, the early year one. So these are some of the kind of funded programs that we currently support our clients with. And you might notice in the apprenticeship sector, but also quite a few sectors now, there's a lot of jargon going around. So I just wanted to explain what some of these terms mean. So this is our current course listing. We've just moved out the IT and digital space from a delivery point of view, but our partners, Inspire ATA, do deliver IT and digital programs as well. They can talk about that later. But in terms of this course listing, so practical period, this means the time that an apprentice or a member of your staff will actually be on program. Endpoint assessment, this is the time taken for the awarding bodies at the end of the program to assess and then certificate the apprenticeship. And then the funding values are there as well. These are the amounts that are outlined by the government in terms of those funding bands that I mentioned earlier as well. In terms of how the pricing, how that money comes out of your digital account. Let's take a teaching assistant as an example. It's £7,000. As a member of staff enrolls onto program, they don't just take £7,000 out of your account. That money is actually comes out monthly throughout the full duration of that apprenticeship program, and then 20% of that funding is actually held back for completion as well. So this is a course listing. There's some good programs on here. There are more programs available, of course, but these are some of the most popular ones that we see in schools. I just wanted to highlight 2 of our flagship programs before I hand over to our next guest speaker. And the first one is our Level 4 School Business Professional program. Now, this program is a really good one for anybody who is in a school business manager role. What we tend to find in schools is school business managers, or maybe somebody that might have started as an office manager when their children were at the school, and they've just progressed into that school business manager role. As we know, those job roles are full of lots and lots of different roles and responsibilities, but this program really equips that individual to have the skills, knowledge and behaviours needed to have a big impact at your school. So that's just one example of a program. The next one I just want to talk about briefly is our flagship program. This is really the golden standard of teaching assistant apprenticeships. We call it our TADP, so our Teaching Assistant Development Program. It contains 3 different apprenticeships: a sports teaching assistant, a general teaching assistant, and then a teaching assistant with an SEND pathway. And within there as well, you can see the SEND pathway. We actually have online workshops built into that. to support teaching assistants that might be supporting pupils that may have SEND needs. But it's not just about the program. So I would urge you all, when you are looking at programs or apprenticeships, don't just go for the off-the-shelf programs. With our programs, and especially our teaching assistant one, we actually give all of our teaching assistants access to just over 90 online CPD courses. And some of those are actually on the screen now that you can see. But that's just, again, a really brief overview of some of the programs that are available in schools. I'm actually really pleased now to hand over to our next guest speaker. Our next guest speaker is from ARC Schools. Since 2017, ARC have had over 308 apprentices across their 39 academies. Of these, half have actually been in ARC's Level 6 apprenticeship programme, as ARC Teacher Training are also a main provider. 326 apprentices have been recruited into the trust as well, and 25% of their apprentices are actually recruited in, with 75% being current staff upskills. And currently there are 104 live learners on programme. 60 of those are on their Level 6 QTS programme, and the rest are across 17 different programmes. So it gives me great pleasure to introduce you to Sarah Tallak, who is the Head of Apprenticeships at ARC Schools. So if I could hand over to you, please, Sarah.
Thanks, Jamie. It's great to be here. So similar to Laura, actually, I started my role around a year ago, and my role was a new role for ARC, sitting within the learning and development team. Prior to that, my background has been largely in HR, and I've previously been a HR business partner at ARC. So we brought my role in really to put some strategic focus onto our apprenticeship usage. As Jamie just demonstrated there, we've actually had quite high numbers of apprentices, but largely that's been through our Teacher Level 6 programme, and also we've had an established route over the last few years for IT apprentices, bringing them in at Level 3, which has been a really useful kind of talent attraction kind of tool for us in what's a very competitive market for IT talent. Can I just get the next bit of the slide up, Jamie? Is that okay to sort that? Yeah, so really we're looking more now widely across our operation and support roles, in particular around how we can do more around apprenticeships and really expand our access to high quality apprenticeships for our staff there, and that's to do with that strategic alignment. You know, it's around as Laura mentioned, you know, why are we looking at apprenticeships? What kind of need are we trying to meet there? So part of that has been quite a significant kind of education piece with our leaders in schools and our operations leads, schools business managers, and then kind of working with them and consulting with them around where their priority needs are. So we did a meeting of all of our operations leads and school business managers in autumn term, looking at their short-term kind of immediate needs or anticipated needs for recruitment within their operation support areas, and we're just about to do a round of visits there to really firm up that demand, and then working with providers around how we can best meet that. And that partnership is really important. We do have programs across Level 2 right up to Level 7, but we've actually spent a lot of time in the past few months shrinking down our partnerships, so that having a more strategic relationship with our training providers, and that they understand our context, because not every provider out there understands how, you know, an education context, you know, things like term time only contracts, etc. So it's really important to find that that right partner. And yeah, it's been a really important part of attracting new talent, because it's that strategic alignment with our people strategy, particularly where we see an opportunity here is around diversity and social mobility in particular. Our kind of going out to add for an apprenticeship will probably, you know, reach applicants that might not necessarily think about applying to schools, but they're on the apprenticeship portal, the government portal, looking for opportunities, and that's where we've already found where we have gone out to advert for an apprentice where all might have previously been advertised as, say, an administration assistant. When we've converted that role across over to a business apprenticeship, we're seeing much higher and much more diverse candidate pools applied to those roles. And it's really important for us to think about apprenticeships as part of wider career pathways, which again, Laura touched on, but really getting people to understand the different opportunities there are, both for new talent, but also for our existing staff in terms of investing in their professional development throughout their career with ARC, so they can see that, you know, this is not just for one role, one program. You know, you could map out a career past, you know, 10, 15 years with different apprenticeship opportunities throughout that career with us, and you know, that will hopefully support our retention. Could we just move on to the next slide, Jamie? Thank you. Another really important part, and this is hot off the press, we've literally launched this this week. We know that there's loads of information out there about apprenticeships, but we also know that our operations leads, school business managers are extremely busy people. So what's been really important for me is to develop a way where it's easy to access the information around apprenticeships, both in terms of general information, but then also if we just go over the next couple of clicks, you'll see that it builds on that toolkit in terms of, look, here's a potential illustrative pathway in this instance for a premises or facilities assistant. So, you know, somebody joining us as a facility assistant, this maps out for them and their line managers what that journey could look like. And at each part of that journey, they can click on and find the information about an appropriate apprenticeship program that might fit their needs. So, I feel like we're still early on in our journey. Actually, there's still a lot to do, but it's an absolutely brilliant opportunity to really support our professional development and hiring strategies.
Brilliant. Thank you so much. And that was very hot off the press. I believe it's only launched today or something.
Literally
like
today
that.
to operations lead. So you're the second group of people to see it. So yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So thank you so much for sharing that. And yeah, if I just move on now, just to kind of note to everyone as well, we are going to be moving on to the Q&A in 10 minutes time. So again, any questions you have, please put them in there, and we'll be asking those questions at the end as well. But really just wanted to touch upon some of our key findings working in, you know, across the sector, not just with multi-academy trusts, but also local authority schools as well. And really, these are kind of common themes coming out at the minute in the sector. So schools are using apprenticeships to upskill a lot. Okay, so the impact our schools are having, that they're having better retention, and they're also able to free up certain CPD budgets they might have in place already by using those funds before they expire, by putting in those career pathways using apprenticeships as well. Most effective Matson schools are the ones where actually the head office or the key people throughout the trust actually embrace apprenticeships and work very, very closely with their partner provider. You know, we do things like jointly branded brochures, posters, you name it, we go in and do that. And really, it's about making your staff understand and feel like this training is actually your program internally there as well. And really, I know both our guest speakers touched upon this as well, regular updates on your program. So you want to have monthly reports, quarterly presentations as well, just so you can understand, you know, the uptake from an apprenticeship point of view across your trust or school. We are also doing more and more recruitment for schools. So schools are now using and seeing apprenticeships as a viable option to widen that talent pool, like Sarah just touched upon there as well. And we're actually experiencing a huge demand for recruitment, more so than ever. We think it's because the feedback we have from our schools, they can save money on recruitment costs and attract new talent in. But if you can't find what you're looking for, and I know there's a big shortage of SEND trained staff right now, then why not hire someone that's not yet trained and put a training program attached into their role as well? So a lot of people are asking us, well, how can I take on new apprentices right now? Well, we say, do you have any support staff vacancies coming up this year? Because if you do, why not make that into an apprenticeship vacancy? And these are some of our most popular ones that we recruit in for at the minute. You can imagine September is a hugely busy time. And if you lean on your provider to do that as well, there may even be some sort of grant available to you if you do take on a 16 to 18-year-old or someone who's 19 plus with an educational healthcare plan. So that leads me into, there's two ways to recruit apprentices. One is where you hire them directly, which you can use the levy for, not for their salary, but to cover their training. The next one, and just to reference the poll here as well, 93% of the audience today said that they've actually never heard of flexi apprenticeships before. Okay, so that gives me great pleasure in moving on to our final guest speaker before we move to the Q&A, to introduce you now to Andrew Wilding. Andrew Wilding is the sales manager from Inspire ATA, and he's now going to talk us through what flexi job apprenticeships are.
Thank you, Jamie. And thank you for inviting me to speak about the Inspire ATA program today. Before I get started, I'll just give you a little bit of an introduction to who I am. And as Jamie mentioned, I'm the sales manager now, but I started 7 years ago at Inspire ATA and have been working, pretty much every role that we have to progress to my position. Ultimately, we have been looking to put people on apprenticeships, and we employ them and support them along the way. And I've worked alongside LNP Education and Jamie for that whole time that I've been with the company. So at Inspire ATA, we recruit, employ, and train the apprentices, as well as supporting them all throughout our flexi job apprenticeship model. This then allows us to be an employment agency with a government-approved license to employ apprentices on behalf of our clients. This is a very unique but easy way of taking an apprentice, and it allows us to provide this end-to-end staffing solution where we handle everything from the candidate sourcing to ongoing HR support, being that one-stop shop for building a thriving workforce. And then as the employer, we take on all of the employment responsibilities, allowing our clients to simply host an apprentice. And our program is designed to alleviate the administrative burden, saving our clients time and money along the way. So if we could just pop over to the next slide for me, Jamie. Thank you very much. So we have a heap of benefits with our model. As mentioned, because we employ, that then alleviates a large workload for our clients. So it really does save a lot of time. And as an award-winning apprenticeship employer, we specialize in the education sector. We have done since we started this model, and it's designed to promote growth and learning, provide valuable real-world experience, empowering individuals to excel in their chosen fields. And we're really proud to be able to say that we've supported over 1,000 individuals into employment, and we're currently working with over 100 clients who all reap the benefits, which I'll mention. But before I do, I have lots of case studies, and I'll just pluck one of them out from that 1,000. So I've actually seen most of these 1,000 with my time at the company. One that really sticks out to me is someone who I recruited a long time ago. They then completed a teacher assistant program, did a fantastic job. She got herself a distinction, was then able to earn herself a position. So great, positive destination. But since then, she's worked her way up to the senior management team of this school and is now the lead contact taking on apprentices for us. So it's just an incredible journey and example of what can happen through our model and the support that we've given, and that they are now doing the same for apprentices in that environment. So one that's just, one of my favorites that I value, and I think it's a great story to start on. But some of the benefits that our clients can receive is it's completely risk-free. So as we're the employer, our client then can experience reduced employment liability, whilst we ensure full compliance with legal requirements and apprenticeship funding rules. We also commit to the full apprenticeship duration, where our clients don't necessarily have to. This then means that our clients might want to take on an apprentice for a set duration. This can quite often become the case if a school has someone who has resigned midway through the academic year and needs to pick up a replacement just for the interim. So we have a minimum duration of 3 months, and we can then complete their apprenticeship with that placement. And if we need to, we have a multitude of different placements that we could then replace them if we needed to. But more often than not, if someone has done the remainder of the academic year with them, that school tends to plan a process and strategy to keep them on, because they tend to do a really good job. But that then moves on to the flexible piece. So we model our program on 30 hours a week, but we can put them on additional hours. That's no problem at all. So it's really flexible in that sense. And then we also employ and arrange the training on behalf to embrace a flexible approach of staffing solutions tailored to your unique needs without that long-term commitment. And then that also moves on to the diversity along with the flexibility, because of where we are at that one-stop shop. We're able to provide an apprenticeship in pretty much anything, and that's because we don't just deliver the programs that our sister company LNP Education deliver. We are partnered up with 20+ training providers with access to 150 programs. So we really allow you the opportunity to have, a really simple contract solution and have access to our training providers, where we can then deliver all of the programs from one contract. But most importantly, we support. So we go beyond the recruitment, providing continuous support for our clients throughout the apprenticeship journey, ensuring they sustain success together. So this then allows us to have a higher retention rate, and we do this with our very hands-on approach. We actually have a dedicated team. Lots of those members of the team are actually in the picture on this slide. So this is a team photo of Inspire ATA, and they do a fantastic job of working with those apprentices, making sure that they have what they need, whether it be well-being, work-based, home, or even just a little boost of encouragement for them to keep on going, because they're not just apprentices. They show much more than that, and we find that our program really allows our clients, the benefits of that, whilst we take, all that time commitment away. So that's everything from me. If you do have any questions, please do put them into the Q&A function, and I'll be more than happy to answer those for you at the end. And Jamie, back to you.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Andrew. And yeah, like Andrew said, we'll be going through some questions towards the end as well. But what we, in terms of flexi apprenticeships, obviously the audience today, 93% of them were not aware of flexi apprenticeships. We do call it the DFE's biggest kept secret when it comes to apprenticeships. So maybe we'll cover a bit more around flexi apprenticeships and how they work within multi-academy trusts shortly. But really, we're going to move to the Q&A very shortly. Our mission here at LNP was always to inspire ambition and widen horizons. And this picture on the screen is really to remind us here at LNP of our own apprenticeship journey. So 12+ years ago, we started on our very own apprenticeship program, and the guys and girls on the screen right now were our very first set of apprentices that we hired. And from here on, we've grown to become a national provider and also an employer now of apprentices as well, with almost 1,200 that we deliver to today. So I just wanted to kind of say, in terms of how we started, where we came from, if you're sitting there now thinking, oh, where do I start? We're going to be here to help you on that journey as well. And hopefully this session has given you some insights into how you can actually create bespoke and tailored career pathways for your staff in schools, attract talent through offering apprenticeship vacancies, and start building that strategy today. I know in the poll again, there's almost half the audience do not yet have an apprenticeship strategy in. So start building that strategy today. And we actually have a team of people that are ready to talk you through that as well. So if you scan that QR code, you can actually book in a free consultation straight with a member of the team, LNP team as well. And just before I move to the Q&A, so hopefully you're going to start seeing our guest speakers coming back on camera shortly. Of course, it's National Apprenticeship Week. We've been super busy. I know that I was talking to Sarah and also Laura as well about the fact that actually it should be called Apprenticeship Month because there's so much going on in this week. We do also have 2 deep dive webinars happening. So we have one happening tomorrow where we're actually looking at our finance apprenticeship pathways, and another one happening tomorrow afternoon where we're actually looking at our early year apprenticeships in detail. So if you want to go to any of those, I think we're going to put the links to those in the chat right now. But what we are going to do is we're now going to move to our live Q&A. I've got a few questions that I've been picking up throughout. If you do have any questions that pop into your head, please do put them in that Q&A box, and we're going to go through those now. In terms of next steps, the presentation and the recording is going to be sent out to everybody that's registered. If you do scan that QR code there and book in your free apprenticeship consultation, we're going to provide you with a free levy guide and also a free mentor handbook as well. So we'll leave that on the screen just whilst I welcome back the guest speakers on. So I don't know if everyone can be back on yet. I can't see anyone. Stop sharing that now. Here we go. Right, I can see Andrew. Brilliant. Sarah's has come on. Fantastic. There we go. Right then. So I've picked up a couple of questions that I've seen pop up, but also I had that I think would be useful for the audience. So really, I think Andrew, we'll kick off with you because you were on just a minute ago talking about flexi apprenticeships. Flexi apprenticeships, DfE's biggest kept secret at the moment. I know you're actually supporting a lot of schools at the moment, supplying those flexi apprentices in to save money on PPA cover. Is that right?
Yeah, no, you're right there actually. So in terms of PPA cover, what I find with a lot of our schools is if you actually were to accumulate all the costs that they are spending on PPA cover, they can actually afford to take 1 or even 2 apprentices at 30 hours a week full time. So one of the most common ones in those scenarios is our sports coach apprentice. So we find that a lot of people save money on PPA cover by using our model to then take someone on full time as an apprentice. So not only do they get someone full time, but they're saving money, and it's all handled by us. So a really easy and efficient way to do so.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Thank you very much there, Andrew. And I know I've seen something just pop up around what used to be called 20% off the job training. It's now off the job training, where it does state that apprentices must be given 6 hours a week to spend on training. So Sarah, if I come across to you, if that's okay, across ARC, how do you manage that time? Because sometimes people see off the job training, that means staff coming out of their job roles, they're going to be away from the classroom. How do you manage that at ARC?
Yeah, it's always a really early part of the conversation when a line manager comes to speak to me about it, or even somebody that's looking to do an apprenticeship, because it is different for every role, and it's really making sure that they understand early that there is that commitment, and it's throughout the life of the programme. It is a longer term development commitment, and then really have that discussion around how would you grant that time. For some, I know that there's been, for instance, with a teaching assistant looking at doing their contract slightly differently so that they have an hour after the students have left each day to, kind of put their development time there. But yeah, it is very different for each role, but it's finding something early that will work for that learner and that team, but making sure that from the start that is scheduled in and factored in for them throughout the life of that programme.
No, absolutely. I always say as well, and we say across our team here at LNP, it's all about giving that real good information, advice, and guidance up front before they actually start that program as well. Laura, are you around at the moment as well? There we go. Fantastic. So I know that it's really tough to actually to launch an apprenticeship program across a trust of the size of Oasis, but also ARC as well. What kind of barriers to participation have you seen? So I know it's really important that we actually get people like senior leaders on board, head teachers, school business managers, HR professionals. But what barriers to participation have you seen, and how do you overcome those?
Yeah, good question. So I think what I'm thinking about is I think about our IT apprenticeship program, because we've just launched that this week. So I think the first barrier can often be both leaders and colleagues' understanding of what apprenticeships are. And I think Sarah talked about this, about kind of just educating people. The knowledge is better in education, as you would expect, than perhaps where I came from. So my background was at the co-op, which was kind of retail. And I used to spend a lot of time explaining apprenticeships, because they are quite complex. Like, you don't need to know all the complexities of them, but just to try and explain, because people come with a perception of what they are as well. So it's okay if you start from scratch, but when you go with and you could have like all sorts of different perceptions. So I think that's really important. And I've been using some of the resources for National Apprenticeship just to do some like true or false, like myth busting things with people this week. But I think starting a programme is important, and don't assume just because leaders are in senior roles either that they understand, and don't you have to find a way of just talking to everybody. Like, I think as well, you don't want to call anyone out for not understanding. That's really not a good thing to do when you're trying to work with people, but you just kind of got to not make any assumptions. So I think that's the starting point. I think then it's about thinking about like the need and the opportunity. So kind of talking to that area and working with those leaders to say, what are your people challenges? What are the things people are talking to you about in their one-to-ones? Like, what kind of things are coming up? And what are some of the relevant apprenticeship standards for that area? And kind of starting to think about, okay, do any of these apprenticeship programs meet the needs that you've got? And just kind of really kind of just discuss and explore. And I always say to people, if apprenticeships aren't the right solution, then we'll put them to one side. Like, it's not about doing them for the sake of it. We need to think about how they'd actually work and who for. So I think those conversations are really important. And then like putting forward a transparent offer. So I think then having agreed which standards you want to offer and how you want to offer them, like launching that, telling people about it, making a bit of a fuss about it, making yourself available to answer questions, making sure the provider's on hand to answer questions, and having a structured approach for which people do that. So Sarah shared some approaches about, I noticed like on your your kind of guide, there was stuff about hiring managers, like what do they do, and for internal colleagues, what do they do? So I think just really clear processes and visibility as well is really important.
Absolutely. Sarah, do you have anything to add to that, to any other barriers that you've seen and how you overcome them?
Yeah, I think it is that fine line between wanting to increase access to the number of people you've got on programs, but also making sure that those people are succeeding and completing and are supported. So it's really making sure that there's an identifiable kind of support mechanism for that learner, and particularly if they're new entrants to the workforce, is it that you need kind of a specific line management package and to support, but again, really thinking about that early and upfront, and if that's perceived as a barrier, kind of thinking through it and where, how you can support people with getting people onto programs, but importantly also succeeding in that program. Jamie,
you're on mute. We can't hear you. I think you're saying something.
There we go. There we go. It's a classic. Just testing you both out there. I was just talking about the recruitment side now. So obviously there's support staff vacancies that are out there that could be apprenticeship opportunities. Is there anything in particular that you've both done to kind of get that message across, that actually, if you have a support staff vacancy, why not think about apprenticeships?
Yeah, I mean, we've had a couple of recent examples where I've been able to share with leaders, look, when we have gone out to ad for this role that was previously, a non-apprenticeship role, actually now it's still an apprenticeship, this was the impact on the amount of people that advertise, that we got responded to the advert. But also, I think it's this wider almost responsibility within some of our communities are, in really quite disadvantaged communities. So being able to offer quality employment opportunities within that community is a really important part. And we know that apprenticeships are, really highly regarded by parents, and by younger entrants into the workforce. We know that having a development opportunity embedded within that role is a really important part of the attraction in roles, and we're seeing that in terms of the higher numbers you know, that we're getting for apprenticeship roles and others.
No, definitely. Laura, anything to add on that one?
Yeah, I agree with everything Sarah said. I think what we find it, I have to say, we find it challenging to identify roles in advance. So I think we're quite reactive and short term in how we work and how our staffing works. And so often the apprenticeships come out up quite, the opportunity comes up quite quickly. And I think what we're trying to do, and it isn't easy, and we're not really made much inroads on it, but is to try and encourage academies to plan. So Sarah talked about getting all the operations leaders together to help plan what they might need. That's what we would like to do a bit more workforce planning, so that we might be able to say, okay, from September, we're envisaging, because of staff turnover and because of gaps, that we might need one apprentice in this academy or two, and it wouldn't be perfect, but we are trying to encourage a bit more planning. So we're working with one of our regions to try and do that as a bit of a test, to say, can we be a bit more planful about this? Because we do know quite a bit about turnover rates. You don't need to wait until it happens. So that is the challenge. So.
Yeah, no, definitely a very good point there. And so, as we all know as well, obviously retention can also be quite a big issue when it comes to apprenticeship programs. And I think it's all about that information, advice and guidance up front as well. I know that Inspire ATA, I know Andrew, you just touched upon there, you have a team in place and you actually have quite a good retention rate when it comes to apprenticeships in Inspire ATA as an employer. What kind of strategies can you share with the audience today on how you get such good retention rates?
Yeah, we do. And it's all down to our secret weapon being that client success team. So we understand that sometimes apprentices are new to the field and might just need a little bit more encouragement or support along the way. So we've put together a strategy where we actually have a dedicated team who liaise with every single one of our apprentices that are on our books. They will speak to them every month, and most often it's way more than that. And it could be just support with, you know, submitting timesheets, making, you know, checking their pay slips. What do they need to do for their apprenticeship? How do they log onto their e-portfolio system? A whole range of different areas of support that go into that. And the team there, they are really empathetic and supportive. And it's actually allowed us to hold a retention rate of 30% higher than the national average, which is something that we're incredibly proud of. But it is what we've put into it. We understand that people will need the additional support, and we took the time to make sure that they received that, and we're available at any time that they may need us. So it's a really key area for us. It's actually something that we're really proud of, because we're the highest ranked organization in the school sector of employment of apprenticeships. So we're second overall in any sector in the country, but we've got that #2 spot for ranked as an apprenticeship employer. And that's a huge testimony to our client success team and the really impactful work that they do.
Brilliant. So that's basically making sure that those line managers of the apprentices are actually supported as well. Not just about the apprentices, it's about the line managers being supported in that role.
It keeps everyone on the same page. So the client success team, you're right, they don't just liaise with the apprentice directly, they also liaise with the training provider, they liaise with their host placement to make sure that everyone is on the same page. It might be small things like they have a session with their tutor and their host placement might not know about it for whatever reason. They just connect the dots and make sure that that time and that session is able to happen, and that the apprentice doesn't feel uncomfortable for asking that question or whatever the situation may be. But they just put everyone on the same page so that the hosts know exactly what's going on and where they are in terms of their training. And if they are on track, fantastic. If they are behind, what can we do to support them to get on track? Ultimately, we're looking to allow our apprentices to achieve and widen their horizons.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Andrew. Sarah, anything else to add on
Yeah,
that
I
one?
was just going to add on to that actually, because our longest running apprenticeship pathway has been the IT pathway. Around 40% of our current IT force are either current or former apprentices. So that's a really significant retention rate of highly trained expertise that we want to retain within the organisation. When I've spoken to that team leader about how they've gone about doing that, it's once they complete the apprenticeship, making sure they've still got a defined development activity going on in the next few years. That might not necessarily be another apprenticeship, of course, but making sure that they still have structured expectations and development after the apprenticeship, and making sure that's being planned through as well.
No, absolutely. And talking of career development as well, so something the sector, especially the education sector, was waiting for was a career pathway defined for teaching assistants. I know, again, hot off the press, DFE wise, is this non-degree or non-graduate route? Is it anyone got any comments on that at all?
Oh, I think we've all come off mute because I start. I think it's really exciting. I've been watching and waiting for it. It's not anytime soon, is it? Because it's the pilot September 2025. So, and it's a substantial course. So I don't know whether they're going to wait for the end of the pilot. Because if they are, then it's maybe 5+ years away. I hope not. Hopefully, maybe they'll make a judgment before the end. But I think that's a big change, and I think will greatly support those individuals that haven't had the opportunity to go to university via the traditional route, and open new pools of talent to join teaching as a profession, and capable people that might not have had another route in. So I think it's great. Yeah, we're excited about it.
Absolutely. Sarah?
Yeah, we're Arctic Training has been on the Trailblazer panel for that. So we're hoping to obviously be part of that pilot. Still, don't know any detail around that yet, but it is a great opportunity. And also, I think it's important that it aligns up to other professions like solicitors, doctors, etc. Those have all got degree apprenticeship routes now. So I think within education, we have to get onto that page really, or else we'll potentially lose new entrants into the profession that will go through other degree apprenticeship routes, which are extremely popular right now, if we're not able to offer that kind of route within education. So it is a really exciting development.
No, absolutely. We're super excited as well, given the fact that how many teaching assistants that come through our programs every year. We're actually at time, so I've got one more question for everyone to kind of give their opinion on. What advice? So there's people we saw from the poll earlier as well. Some people do not yet have a strategy up and running. So what advice would you give to another MAT or school who's about to start on their apprenticeship journey? So Sarah, going to kick us off first. Is that okay?
Yeah, just internally kind of figure out the why first, or the need that you hope that apprenticeships could start to meet. So really, consulting internally with either your operations leads, school leaders, etc. First, and then having those discussions with providers that could hopefully support you then with the solutions to some of those issues.
Absolutely. Andrew?
Yeah, I think that as well, thinking about the why, but also think about what roles you have and how are you going to really enrich your workforce, because having people coming in as an apprentice really do bring new ideas. They're eager. We quite often will hear an apprentice go, "Oh, I don't know if I can do that. I'm just an apprentice." They're so much more. They're so resilient and hardworking, and it's one of the things where at the end of a program, for our Inspire ATA program, we have no finder's fee, so our clients can take them on completely free of charge, and they very often do, and it's a really positive destination for them to enrich their workforce. So I think if you're on the fence, give it a go, because it really is an investment very well paid off, from my point of view.
Excellent. And Laura, what advice would you give?
Yeah, so I think start small probably. So I would say you maybe choose one apprenticeship to try and think it through and do it well, rather than trying to do too much at once, and then you build up. I think that's the way I would approach it, starting from scratch.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So we are out of time. I just want to say a massive thank you to our guest speakers, especially during National Apprenticeship Week as well. Hopefully you found it useful. Like I said a minute ago, next steps, we will also be sending out the presentation, the recordings as well. If you have any other questions and you want a free consultation, scan that QR code and a member of the team will happily meet with you to talk you through all your options. But apart from that, we've got a big end to the apprenticeship week tomorrow. And just a massive thank you to all of our guest speakers once again. Thank you.